for joining us this afternoon, almost afternoon on the first day of KBIS. So excited to be here talking to you. In case you don't know, in case you're just taking a seat and relaxing for a while, this is the Focal Point Fever conversation, and you'll find out more about what that means in just a second. The thing about this conversation is this, when you think about a focal point, we don't struggle when we're choosing beautiful things. We struggle with choosing which beautiful things get to win in a space. That's really the point of the conversation. That's what we're going to talk about today. In luxury spaces especially, there's this constant tension between drama and discipline. A faucet that feels like sculpture, a chandelier that commands the room, a material move that shifts the mood instantly. But here's the real question. What makes a focal point powerful instead of just loud, right? That's really what it is. And how do we make those decisions across an entire home so it feels intentional, not like a collection of competing hero moments? So that's where we're going to start. But first, are you wondering who the hell I am? So guys, I'm Carisha Swanson. I'm the Director of Editorial Special Projects for House Beautiful, and I am honored to be sitting here with these three fantastic women. So actually I'm gonna introduce you last because you have a few other things to say. Okay, so we have Emily Marek, founder and principal designer of Emmy Couture Designs, known for layered, highly personal interiors. Say hi.
Hello.
And we have.
I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, I am excited to have you, and because we had a few preliminary conversations, and I was like, this is going to be spicy and fun. Okay, then we have Emily Marek, founder and principal designer of Emmy Couture Designs. Nope, I'm doing the same thing again. Sorry, guys. Katie Gutierrez, over there to the left, is CEO and interior designer at Eras Designs, bringing a strong point of view on architecture, scale, and whole home cohesion. Next, I'm going to make them sit in the order I actually have them in, so I'm not looking down. And finally, we have Christina Christopher, VP of Product Management and Designer at Kichler Lighting. She is thinking about products that don't just illuminate a space, but really define it. And you have a couple of words you wanted to share with the audience first. And also, before she does, Kichler is right down there, right? If you turn around, there are a few booths down. So when this is over, definitely check them out. But go ahead, Christina.
So happy to be here today. Welcome to Orlando. Excited to meet Carisha in person, and obviously these two beautiful ladies. So Kichler Lighting has been a staple in residential lighting in North America for 85 years. And what we're doing now is we're truly evolving the brand and really driving the brand up in scale, and also making light as art and having really a truth of materials as we think about designing products and moving forward. So what you'll see when you come by, and hopefully you'll come by and visit, you'll see true porcelain, true brass construction with lacquered brass and bronze finishes. So really, truly beautiful, elevated styles that really are art and can be a focal point.
Nicely done. And that was a nice commercial break, wasn't it? I love that. So we're going to start with the real question, which is, what problem does a focal point solve that just good design alone can't? And Katie, I'll start with you on that question.
Ooh, I love this question.
And also, I want you guys to kind of differentiate your styles. So this, if you can't tell by their clothes, what kind of your personal style is, your design style is, just so they kind of know your point of view.
Yeah, so we have a design philosophy we call biographical design, and it's a design philosophy and almost scientific method that we've been honing over the past 17 years that we've been doing design work. And it's a process by which we get to know our clients' literal biography. I love to start that meeting with, what was life like when you grew up? And we get some really fascinating answers from people, and it's a way that we can, I call it get naked quick. We deep dive with our clients really fast. And so through biographical design, we are able to pair a person's biography with design principles so that when we create their home for them, it is an exact expression of who they are. It usually leads to maximalism.
It usually leads to maximalism. So now that they know that about you, what problem, going back to the question, does a focal point solve you think that good design alone cannot?
What we love to do in biographical design is bring something in that is from a person's past, present, or what they want to manifest in the future. Like, for example, we have clients that we're working with right now that she studied Chinese history when she was in college. And so she loves Asian things, and she brought this Chinese screen into the project, and she's like, here, what do I do with this? And so we thought it would be a great idea to have that be the focal point in the kitchen. Well, usually the focal point of a kitchen is the range and hood, but in this case, we wanted to bring your attention to these Chinese screens. And so we did them behind the banquette and made the focal point in the kitchen that wall rather than the range wall, which had some difficult implications on the design of the room.
I love that tension. I'm actually going to circle back to that, but I want to throw you the same question. Yeah, sure. What problem does a focal point solve that good design alone cannot?
Okay, so first of all, with Emmy Couture, we do something that's called the couture effect. And what that is we really cater to our clients' needs and their lifestyle. So really getting to understand their lifestyle, we are able to then pull their style out of them. So if you kind of look at our portfolio, I'm not that like one designer, that one look. We truly cater to the clients and give them their style, because a lot of people just don't know what it is. So that's the couture effect. So to answer the question, again, what was the, sorry, one more time. I just had
Does anybody have some ginkgo
I know,
in the
I'm like,
audience?
A little coffee.
I know.
Coffee hasn't hit yet.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. It's the time zone. She's, by the way, on this coast. Okay.
I'm from Arizona, by the way.
She's not. What problem does a focal point solve that good design alone cannot?
I think the focal point of the space just really solves what the feeling is going to be in each space. And it's walking into that space and giving you that feeling. And so that's one of the things, like a fireplace. If you have a contemporary fireplace that's illuminated, that gives you the feeling. It brings in the lighting aspect of things.
I think it's interesting that with this, we were talking about tension points, right? Even what you were saying before, Katie, about, you know, your client wanted to have her Chinese screens brought in somewhere, and she probably didn't know where, and you kind of had to think about where, and you were talking about normally it's the hood and the range. So what had to get quiet in that space for the screen to really show up and be the moment?
It's a great question.
Especially for a maximalist.
It's true. It's so hard for me to tame it back. I want everything to be the focal. In that particular project, like I said, the range and hood is usually the focal of the kitchen, or the chandelier over the island is typically the focal point. But in this case, we thought we can't have competing focal points, so we said absolutely the screens are. So what we did behind the range wall was we did a downdraft so that we didn't have a hood, so that it couldn't compete. Yeah. We did, the lighting that we did was a wall sconce above the range, so that it's a beautiful element, but not this volumetric feature. That's my husband. Hello. So it's not this volumetric focal in the room. So above the island, we actually did architectural spotlights. We didn't do a fixture at all. So really the whole kitchen is subservient to these Chinese screens, which, by the way, are red with gold designs.
That's the mental picture I had. When you, Christina, think about how people use lighting in these spaces to be either a moment where things calm down or a moment where it is the moment, how do you advise your clients to work with the lighting that you offer?
We definitely at Kitchler think about lighting in three ways: whispering, speaking, and shouting.
Ooh, that's good.
Making sure that we have those elements represented so they're not conflicting and trying to fight each other.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. It's a layered effect, right? And you did say that you were a lady of few words.
Very few.
Yes, that's why I have all the other ladies up here. Emily, what do you think about what she just mentioned?
I think, it's very true. Lighting is typically now like the jewelry of the homes, and the way that it sparkles and just elevates each space. It's just constructed so differently now, and your guys' products is just beautiful.
Thank you. We saw last night at the NKBA Design Awards just an amazing tape lighting display that this designer, and I can't recall her name, and I wish I could to give her the credit. Absolutely stunning what she did in this space. It was a space with, an A-frame ceiling with all of these angled beams, and she tape lit it. And it's a silent emotion provoker when we think about tape lighting. Tape lighting might not be sexy or spicy like you two, but it's a silent emotion provoker for us.
Definitely.
One of the things that you are talking about too is, aside from layering, it also has to do with scale and placement. That's what you're talking about when you talk about the kitchen. Emily, I know you haven't given us a specific example yet, but I'm sure you can layer in one here. What is the fastest way to tell when you've gotten the scale wrong when it comes to that major feature, that major moment you're trying to have? And how do you correct it?
I think, with a lot of the open concepts nowadays with the rooms, it can kind of feel a little lost. And so you want to make sure that even with an open concept, you are looking at each space individually and having each space its own little focal point. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong. I would just say each space needs to feel defined in its own unique area. And that would be like the way that I would do it, rather than saying that anything would be like a wrong focal point.
Do you feel like spaces feel cluttered? If you go into a dining room and the rug's too small and the chandelier's too small, does it end up feeling cluttered versus cozy? Is that something that you guys see?
We do kind of see that a little bit.
Just curious.
Yeah, I would say I like doing focal point of like the ceiling for the dining room. Doing something with the ceiling and the chandelier as that, and then letting the furniture speak separately. That way, since it's an open floor plan concept, that's one way to kind of define the space.
I have to say, I feel like I'm a lay person. I've never played a designer on TV. I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. And, I was talking to a designer recently about my own kitchen, and I don't have light fixtures in my kitchen because it's open to our breakfast area and open to our living room. And she's like, "What do you think about pendants?" And I was like, "I think it's too much." And she's like, "Well, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "I think it's too much." It can be hard to get your clients to leave what's familiar to really push those boundaries. So my little maximalist queen, I know when people hire you, they know what they're getting, but how do you push a person like myself that's used to what they're seeing and they just kind of want to replace the thing that's already been in place with your vision for having that big moment?
This is my favorite thing. I love it. So I'll give you an example of a client that we worked with very early on. And when they came to us, they said that they wanted a trendy white kitchen because it was good for resale value. When someone says to me, "I want to make this decision because it's good for resale value," I hear red flag, red flag, red flag, because it tells me that they're not coming from what I think is the right way to decision make, which is from a place of self-satisfaction and for self-nurturing and for self-exploration and self-expression, which I think is so important in this world. And I think we live in a world that society tells us to tamper and to be smaller and to not show up so big. I like to challenge that. So what we do is, in this project, for example, where they said they wanted the white kitchen good for resale value, I said, "That's great. I get where you're coming from. And you're graphic designers. Both people in the household were graphic designers." I said, "You do color and pattern and graphics for a living, and you want a kitchen devoid of all of that." I said, "Would you consider if I brought you an alternative to that, just for consideration?" Well, what we brought to them was an idea of wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling, chalkboard painted flat cabinets. And they were like, eh? But I'm like, hear me out. You can draw on it and create your own kitchen graphics. And with a little bit of hesitation, they dove all in. And so we did do this complete wall of chalkboard cabinets. And what I love about that is when we went back, over the years, we were able to see that they would draw their grocery list. It wouldn't say cheese as a word. It would have a picture of cheese. Yeah. And at the bottom, their little kid would draw things that the parents were drawing up here. And I think it was such a part of how the family did family and was a contributor to how the family created their life together, that I think that's what I'm after.
Well, it goes back to, what did you call it? Your biographical, is that,
Design.
what was it?
Biographical
design. Really getting to know who the person is, their history, their family, all of the things, so that you can kind of poke in and connect with that thing that's going to get them on the other side. Yeah. I mean, she's just giving me like memes and mimes and whatever, and I love it. I love it. Emily, your style is decidedly not Katie's. I don't.
A little bit.
Yeah. I don't know that you have a floor-to-ceiling chalkboard cabinetry situation, but I am sure that you have had things that you've had to push your clients on in terms of that trust value. Can you give us an example of one of those moments?
Yes. So one of the moments is our clients travel a lot, and so being able to incorporate some of their traveling into the home. So one of our clients is called Set the Mood Project. We like to name all the projects, but this one, every room has its own mood. So for her primary bedroom, she was traveling to Dublin, and she stayed at a hotel that had these flowers dangling from the ceiling. And so she's like, I want to incorporate this into my primary bedroom. Remind you, she is a single woman, and so we were able to make this happen for her, and we created this wall to wall. It's probably about 20 feet long, of roses staggered at different heights that we were able to recreate for her, hanging from her ceiling. And so that gave her that dramatic impact that she was looking for, and that is the focal point of her primary bedroom when you walk in. She wanted this like jungle princess theme, and we were able to give it to her in surprisingly a colorful way.
I was about to say, that's your maximalist moment right there.
I know, but it's still like in an elevated, like it's tone on tone. Like the furniture, we did like a 4-poster black wooden bed. We did some black fringe ottomans. It's very like the color palette is very more of like toned down, and you let that focal point of the flowers shine.
What I think is so interesting about that anecdote is how hotel stays, how moments of being outside of our personal environments kind of give us a freedom to try something that we might have otherwise shied away from or thought this is going to be ridiculous.
Totally.
And when you're thinking about, I mean, both of you have mentioned that really the idea of a focal point has more to do with mood and emotion than anything else, and that's what you were really doing by bringing that into her bedroom.
Yes.
Yeah. On the line of mood and emotion, we know how much lighting plays into all of that. Not just the architecture of a space, but truly how we feel when we walk into a space. Can you just talk about, as you're listening to them tell these stories, from the chalkboard wall to this beautiful bedroom that's got to have a certain style of light to make it all feel successful. When you're talking to designers about their projects, what is the thing that when you hear these stories, what is the thing that you're focused on to help them be successful?
I think it's more of the technical aspect, like thinking about CRI. Like I think about the chalkboard, and I wonder in my mind, what color temperature were you using, right, to light that space? And then thinking about the roses. So that really bringing the technical aspect in to help designers go along that route. Because a fixture can be beautiful, but if you sacrifice quality of light, whether it's CRI or beam angles or anything like that, you're going to have glares, you're going to have shadows, halos, things like that. So we want to make sure that we take those things out of the project and take any of those issues away that could exist.
I mean, I don't know if I said this on our call, but one of my biggest pet peeves in travel, and I travel a lot for work, but I can't say I'm staying at always the nicest hotels because we all know what budgets are. But even at those nicer hotels, I get so frustrated when the lighting in the bathroom is bad.
For your makeup, like in the morning.
It is the worst. I have legitimately walked out of my hotel room into the hallway to find another person to tell me if I put on my makeup correctly before walking into the streets of wherever I am. So along those lines, when you're talking about functional rooms like bathrooms, what kind of, you're talking about typically a smaller space than some of the other spaces in the home. What do you think earns the right to be the most expressive in rooms that are functional? My maximalist can't even handle this question.
I mean, I would say I like how we can do lighting that sets the mood. You can use dimmers now on everywhere, but tape lighting has such a different effect than like a chandelier or a pendant. And so being able to have something backlit, that gives you that drama of backlighting a countertop, that's still lighting up the room, that's, that accent lighting that it creates.
Yeah.
It's still another like focal point, but it just gives you a different ambiance from it.
Yeah, we saw last night at the NKBA, I hate to refer to it again, but
okay.
the Design Awards, because looking at these amazing projects and seeing the pictures that were nominated, her first name was Shay. I can't remember this one's name. Her first name was Shay, and she won for Best Overall Bathroom, but she had this oval-shaped bathtub surrounded in stone but backlit with tape lighting in the middle of a room, and it was absolutely stunning the way the space was lit. So just really honing in on that and letting, again, lighting be a little bit more silent sometimes and not taking the main stage or being the lead actor, but having it be kind of the supporting actor or the audience.
Is there room then, in these smaller spaces for, and I'll throw this at my maximalist. I know the answer is going to be yes, but I'm just going to let you go with it. For in a smaller space, we kind of mentioned jewel boxes before. For everything to be a little excessive in a bathroom, can you have the floor be a tiled pattern and there be some sort of crazy stone on the countertop and there be something else kind of tub? Like, is there that room, or do people really need that a breath?
Yes. Yes, there's definitely the room. And that's what I love about designing spaces that are maximalist. We just completed a project that has mosaicked tone-on-tones of reds and oranges and yellows, mosaic tile all over the walls in the shower. The rest of the bathroom is orange wallpaper, and the countertops are marble with a lot of orange veining. And so I would have to say yes.
I want to see.
I want to see a rose bathroom, so you and I need to do like a little Zoom call or something.
Yes.
But I think that it has to do with sort of volume levels. I love what you said earlier about whisper, speak, and shout. I think that that's brilliant. I love, you're like, I'm a lady of few words, but the words you say are poignant and powerful. So what we love is, we love for the creation of a room to be sort of like a song. In a song, generally speaking, all the instruments are sort of playing at the same volume, wherein just the singer is a little bit louder, but generally every note is harmonious, right? And I think sometimes we have like that saxophone that kind of, screams loud, but typically all the things in a room are singing together in a beautiful chorus that's harmonious. And I think that actually spaces work really, really well when it's not a whole entire white room, let's say, with that one focal of very graphic tile.
Oh, yeah.
So when we do very graphic tile, we typically do the rest of the bathroom with that much volume, so that one tile is not screaming loud in the room, but the whole room uniformly is singing beautifully together. Does that make sense?
Is there, especially when you're talking about colors that are very bold and very in your face like this, is there space to choose things that kind of might date after a while, but will hold the resiliency because they kind of are hearkening to something that's more classic?
I think it's like this. If it's a part of a person's self-expression, that can't ever go out of style.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing is, I think when design is well designed, like, good design doesn't go out of style. Not because it's trendy or not trendy or classic or whatever. It's just because it's good design, and people can recognize good design. And I think that when it's well designed, in everything being in concert with each other, the lighting having layers, and people can feel that, and that feeling of quality never goes out of style.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Just like the rest of me.
Obviously. How should those spaces This is more maybe to designers that are starting out. How should those spaces feel before they're just trying to be impressive? You know, there's sometimes a tendency for newer designers to just want to throw everything at the wall, to like make a statement, to have a moment, to whatever. But the feeling of it can feel not intentional, not as thoughtful, because they're just like, it's everything they just saw at the show, right? How do you make sure that the feeling is there before it's about just showing off?
Me?
I mean, I would say with our 3D rendering process, it's really nice that we can show the clients what it's going to look like, and they can see it, and we can get on there and change that material, change the color from, you know, a Taj Mahal to something that's more loud or something, you know, and we're able to show them, and they get that feeling from our 3D renderings that you're able to see.
Ooh, can I?
Oh, please take it.
Pick me.
Go for it.
Oh,
Go
okay.
for it.
Okay. I liken it to this example. On Wednesday morning, on an average Wednesday morning, I'm making scrambled eggs for my son, right? And I'm scrambling the eggs. Meanwhile, I'm like, what time is my meeting? Oh, did I bring my iPad or did I leave it at the office? Do I have to go back? And I'm like, James, where are your shoes? You know, like, and I'm scrambling these eggs.
It's not your name, right, husband? She's
No.
not okay. Okay, good.
That's Ruben, my
Ruben, I'm reading his name tag.
very sexy husband, who's also my business partner.
He said he has lushies before, but this isn't that story. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm making scrambled eggs for my son, James, and I put them on the table. Meanwhile, I go finish getting ready and doing whatever. His experience of eating those eggs is not one that is memorable or cultivating anything. On a holiday, though, like on Thanksgiving morning when I make eggs, it's usually a casserole and has cheddar cheese on the top, and I'm watching it in the oven to bubble and be just amazing. And I set the table, and there's a present for each person at their place setting, and maybe there's a name card, and you know, I use like the beautiful china. And then when we sit down to eat those eggs, it's togetherness. It's cultivating memory. It's cultivating family. It's cultivating legacy. It's cultivating so much juicy yumminess in my family that Wednesday eggs don't make. And the reason is because it's the emotional intention I'm bringing to the egg making that makes all the difference. It's not my talent is different on Wednesday than on Thanksgiving. It's the emotional intention that I bring to the egg making. And so that is the question that I always ask my clients when we start. It's like, what is the intentional emotion we're trying to create here? And then when we design from that decision-making point, you know, if it's the kitchen and we're trying to cultivate togetherness in the family, and intimacy in the family, we will decision make very differently than we would if we were designing an Airbnb rental, right? And I think typically for my clients that doesn't yield an all-white kitchen with white backsplash, and because togetherness and that juicy tenderness of the love of a family and the family that has been through so much and hardships and ups and downs usually doesn't equal sterile environment. It usually equals textured environment with richness and texture, layered colors and layered patterns, because that's what life looks like. So I think when we reflect life, it creates an intentional manifestation of the future that we want and the present that we want and the presence that we want with the people that we're using the space with. So when we come from intentional decision making from that emotional place, again, it usually yields maximalism.
These ladies are pretty freaking dynamic. I do want to open this up if there are any questions from the audience. I know I probably should have told you that before so that you could have questions ready to ask. And oh, lovely. Run all the way to the middle, please, my friend. He's coming. Yep, he's coming to you. Not you. You don't have to run.
This is a lighting question. We have a cabinetry showroom for kitchens, and it's hard to manage when you've got natural light and deep in the showroom, no natural light and all that kind of thing, and you're trying to be relatively true to color. We always tell people to bring home the samples, of course, to see in their own home, but what do you recommend for showrooms for like furniture, cabinetry, that kind of thing, and managing those challenges?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and hopefully everybody heard it. Just thinking about the different color temperatures. One thing that we do, we have the Kitchler Experience Center in Dallas, Texas, and we bring designers, showrooms, etc., from all over in, and we have a space in there where we feature the same paint color in 4 squares on a wall, and we have all the different Kelvin temperatures. So we have 2,700, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and it's very impactful to show the difference. So doing something very simple like that in your space, it's super simple, that would really open their eyes, because you don't want, right, if they go home and they pick this finish of cabinet and then they decide, I like 5,000 CCT, and then they come to you and say, this doesn't look like what you sold me, right? So making sure they understand what their preference of light, color, temperature is, what the impact that is on the finish of the cabinets.
That's fascinating. Any other questions?
Can I respond to that lighting question?
Of course you can.
Thanks. I've designed a kitchen and bath showroom before, and one of the things that we did that was very successful was we put every single light on its own switch, and that allows the customer to stand, back from the kitchen, and then you turn on the toe kick lighting. And then you turn on the backsplash lighting, and then you turn on the bookcase lighting, and then you turn on, and so on. And so that allows them to see the build of the different layers so that they can appreciate each one individually. And when they appreciate each one individually, then they're more likely to buy them all.
Everybody likes more money. Any other questions? Okay, well, I would like to say thank you, Christina, Emily, Katie, for a dynamic conversation. Thank you to Kitchler Lighting and the NKBA for putting on the Luxury Lounge. Also, my team at Flying Camel, thank you so much. And thank you for being here and being so engaged. I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great KBIS.
Thank you.